Hello, in this lecture we're going to work the same numbers again, but now we're going to be using the weighted average inventory method. So we have already done FIFO, first in, first out, LIFO, last in, first out, and now we're going to do the one that's kind of in the middle, the one that will have the in the middle results between the two being the weighted average approach. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to left click, I'm going to drag it over here till it snaps, then take a look at our same numbers as of 5-1. We have the same starting ending inventory numbers over here, which are the 100 at $50. If we multiply that out, 100 times 50 gives us that 5,000. I'm just going to put that same 5,000 in the total area. So we have this beginning number. Then the first thing that happens is we purchased. So on 5-5, we purchased. I'm going to put that into the purchasing column up here, of course. And we purchased the amount of 400 at, I'm hitting tab, 55, I'm going to say tab, then I'm going to multiply those two together using Excel. First thing to do a formula within Excel is hit equals. Then I'm going to use the arrows this time instead of the mouse pointing to the left. There's the 400, I'm pressing times the star, left once. Then in order to see the calculation, instead of hitting enter or equals in a calculator, we hit enter, of course. There's the 22,000. Now what we need to do is calculate the average cost over here in the ending inventory section. So what we're going to do is I'm going to copy this layer. I'm going to right click on it. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to put it right underneath it. Paste it 1, 2, 3 because that layer is still there as of this date. And I'm going to use that in order to help us to calculate the average price. Then I'm going to say this layer is what we just purchased. So as of the ending, we're going to right click on this, copy it, put it right there, right click, I'm going to paste it 1, 2, 3, values only. Then I'm going to add up both the number of units which under this section as of this date, which is of course the 100 and the 400, which is 500. I'm going to use the equals sum function, double click on the sum function, highlight those two numbers, and enter to calculate that. Then I'm going to do the same for the total cost. Those are the total units. Here's the total cost, 5,000, 22,000. I'm going to sum those up, or add them up, of course. The 5, the 22, enter, adds up to be 27. Then what we're going to do, instead of having layers that we will then sell, when we sell the units, we're going to average the price and say, well, the price was, about this much, the average of them. So how do we calculate the average? We take the total cost divided by the number of units. So if we were to take a calculator out, then it would be the total cost 27,000 divided by the number of units 500, giving us 54 about, which is of course in the middle between the high of 55 and the low of 50. Why is it so much closer to the high? Because we have 400 of that higher 55 number and only 100 of the lower. So if we were to do that calculation here, we could do it this way. This equals the cost, the 27, divided by the 500, then enter, and we get that $54. Now remember, when we're doing the average, it's possible that we could end up with pennies, with something that doesn't round evenly. And in Excel, it will round it down to this number, but when you do the calculation, the actual number that is in there, if it's not even, will be what will be used to calculate. So remember that we could have rounding differences in these calculations. Alright, so then that's going to be the 27, the 500 times the 54 is basically that same 27. If we make this large, like so, and then post this journal entry, we're posting the purchase here, then we purchased $22,000 worth, so we've got 22,000, and if I debit that, I'm going to have to credit this 22,000, so inventory is going up, accounts payable is going up again. So we're going to inventory here on Z63 equals this debit. That's a debit. That's a debit. It's going to make the debits go up to 27. We're now out of balance. So that we're going to post the other side. I'm going to assume we purchased it on account again. Equals the credit. That's a credit. That's a credit. They're the same thing. It's going to make it go up. And no effect on net income in this case. I'm going to put my cursor up top, pull it, snap it. I'm left clicking and dragging it till it snaps. Going to the next icon. Which is going to be on this line. So we're going to go right there, and we now have on 5-9 a sale. So this time we sold 420 units at $85. So remember that that 85 is the sales price, doesn't really have anything to do with this worksheet because this we're dealing with the cost. When we do the journal entry though, we will have to say that we sold it for that. Doesn't have to do with the cost though. So we're going to go into the cost of sales because we're calculating the cost of that merchandise that we sold. And we know that we sold 420 of them. And we have our typical question, well, how much did they cost? Some of them, they're the same type of inventory. Some of them cost 50, some of them cost 55. In the average, what do? We say, yeah, they cost about 54, right? They cost about that much number. That's what the average means. So then we're going to say then the 420 times 54, about what they cost, the unit times the average cost, then would give us the 22.6. If we were then going to calculate how much we have left, notice we really only have this one layer that we finally said was at this cost, 500 units at 54. So of that 500 units, we sold 420. So we can subtract that. 500 minus 420 means that we have 80 units left of the 500. They all cost about $54. Therefore, we have 80 units left times $54, or 4,220 in terms of dollars. If we put that in the total column, we get the 4,320. If we make this large, then we're going to record this sale. Remember that there's two journal entries when we record the sale. This information relates to the cost of the sale, not the sales price. So I'm first going to record the sales price, which will be the same as it was in all the other transactions. And the sales price was, it says $85 for 20 units. So we can say this equals 85 times 420 units. And we're going to debit that, so we're going to credit that. We're going to say that we sold it on account. That's the assumption being made. Accounts receivable is going to go up. We're going to put our cursor in Z62 equals that debit, enter. The receivables go up. Now we're going to record the sales. So that's going to be revenue, income, sales down here equals the 35.7. And sales goes up, puts us back in balance, brings net income up in this case. Now we're going to record the cost of the goods sold. And the cost of the goods sold is what we calculated here. So the cost of goods sold is going to be an expense of that 22,680, and the inventory is going to go down by that 22,680. So if we post that, then the cost of goods sold is here. Notice that net income went up by the sales price. When we post this, then we're going to post the cost, the main expense related to that sale, enter, brings the net income down to 1320. That's still income. That's not a loss. That's income here. Then we can go to the inventory, double click on inventory, to the end of it, plus, and we'll go to the credit, and that will bring inventory down. Inventory is an asset, bringing it down to there. That number should now match our worksheet here, and we can move to the next item. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to snap it to the left again, and move over a bit, and we are now on the 518. And as of that, we purchased again. So I'm going to be in the purchase columns in this case, and we purchased 120 units at $60. I'm hitting tab equals, I'm hitting the left arrow 2 times, 120 times, I'm going to hit the left arrow 1 times, 60. Then I'm going to hit enter in order to see the calculation. Note that the calculation is always also up here. I'm going to say enter. There we have it. This is our old layer now. I'm going to go ahead and copy that down and then add the new layer to it. So I'm going to right click, I'm going to copy this, I'm going to paste it, 1, 2, 3 there. Then I'm going to highlight these, the new layer we have, right click, copy those, I'm going to right click, paste it, 1, 2, 3 there. So as of this date, we need to calculate the average based on this information. So we have how many units? We've got the 120 and the 80. What was the cost? The 7.2 plus the 4,320. We need that information in order to calculate the average price. We're going to sum those up in this way in order to do that. Equals the sum of, and I'm going to say shift 9. I'm hitting the up arrow twice. I'm holding shift and now I'm hitting down. That's a way you could sum it. I'm just adding up those two numbers. Adds up to the 200. I'm going to do the same over here. We're just adding up these two numbers.